of these players named Nigel. We got Nigel Peltier from the Pacific Northwest, Nigel Richards from the Pacific Southwest, New Zealand, coming back to North America after 7 years gone from our soil. So it's great to see him back. He's in fantastic form. Nigel Peltier as well. Almost never plays tournaments these days except local ones, but every time he plays the nationals, I think, every year. He always does so well. So it's going to be great to see this matchup. They've played before. This isn't the first time they've met, but it's always fun to watch the Nigels duke it out. So I'm super excited for this one, Morris. But not sure if the players are seated yet. If they aren't, we can take a short break and we'll get them ready as soon as possible. Yeah, super excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to say Nigel on turn and then Nigel on turn and have all the viewers just be enraged by that the entire time. But no, kidding aside, these are both excellent players. Obviously, it's always the biggest treat to see Nigel Richards play. I also think Nigel Peltier often makes really interesting decisions that are a bit off the beaten path, but have a lot of strategic merit often. So it'll be interesting to see them duke it out.
Yeah, so of course, Nigel Richards, the greatest of all time. He is playing the North American Lexicon. He played it last week as well, a slightly different version of the North American Lexicon. Prior to that, he played the French Lexicon. He came to my home soil of Quebec to play in the international finals. He did extremely well there. He won most of the events. And next month, he told me he's playing Spanish again. So it feels like he knows no bounds. He can just manage 5 or 6 word lists at the same time. He normally just plays the international lexicon, but he hasn't played that on North American soil at all. It's just crazy. He just feels invincible. It feels like he can't make a mistake.
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing about what we've seen in Nigel's recent run last week, where he played in the World Cup, this week where he's playing the SPC, is that in this dictionary, there isn't quite as much high scoring always as in the Collins dictionary. And so it felt like previously, at least to me, if you're dominating Collins, if you are such a good word finder, that gives you a distinct advantage. But we're seeing those nuances come out a few turns in advance often, I feel like, in NWL positions where you're like, why did he make that move? And then you kind of grill it down a bit more, and it isn't just about scoring often in his decision making. It becomes even more evident. There's a lot of layers to every decision he makes, and he does it so fast.
He does. He does it incredibly fast, faster than anyone else. Sorry, I'm putting my shades on because you guys will see why I'm putting my shades on. Nigel just incredibly fast at finding these strategic sequences. He talks about the game, how it's slightly different, but not too different. Yeah, he really just loves the variety. That's why he's doing this. He just has so much fun with it, and it's great to see him just perform so well, no matter what dictionary he's playing. He went on an 18-0 run, I think, last week. Had a pretty rough start, but he's still in the mix for this tournament. Both of these guys really need to win pretty much all of their games today to stay in the running for the finals. So a very critical one. That's why we're showing it. We're also showing it for the memes, for the shades, for the lulls. There's an iconic picture of both Nigels wearing sunglasses, and I think we're going to get a moving one in just a few seconds. So when we cut to the board, I hope we're going to laugh. I hope we're going to smile. Let's see these two guys. Oh, amazing. Amazing. Love it.
Yeah, very nice.
That's a moment. Please clip it. Please save it. Show it to your friends and family, your children, your grandchildren. a moment for the ages. We're here to make memories. Thanks again to NASPA Games for sponsoring this stream alongside the International Lexicon stream over at the Let's Play Scrabble YouTube channel. Are you not entertained? That is a question we will be asking in a poll, or maybe not. But yeah, this is beautiful. Nigel Peltier to go first. He's at 14-8. Nigel Richards 1 game ahead, 14.5, 7.5. Or did I say 1 game? 1/2 game ahead. Nigel tied with Chris Cree earlier in the tournament. Nigel Peltier had the craziest game of the tournament. Game ended with, I think, 20 tiles still in the bag, 170 to 307. Don't think we're going to see something like that happen this game, but we're going to see something new, something novel. That's what Scrabble's all about. Super excited.
Indeed. So we see their handshake, and Nigel P is going to start the game, drawing his first 7 tiles.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So just hopefully, the one thing about wearing sunglasses in a Scrabble game is reflection. So hopefully neither of these guys can see the reflection of their opponent's tiles in their shades. I don't think it should be possible, especially with the low light that we have in this this playing room. But they're definitely, neither of them are going to be looking for such a thing. That's always what I'm worried about. I would wear sunglasses all the time. I'm just like paranoid about it.
Yeah, I know that that's a big thing in poker to limit ability for anyone to read your body language. In Scrabble, there's a lot more randomness turn to turn. It's not like you're holding the same set of letters over a very long period of time, whereas in poker, you could be stared down for minutes at a time. So that makes some sense in that game. But yeah, I don't think I've ever really seen it in Scrabble. And so Nigel Peltier starts out with things that are kind of close to a bingo, not quite there. What's jumping out to you, Josh?
Yeah, Nigel just 1 tile away. Maybe I should say Peltier. 1 tile away from a bingo on this rack. He's gonna maybe alphabetize the letters to make sure he's not missing something. I'm not sure exactly what his study habits are. Maybe he doesn't alphabetize. I think you probably want to play long here. You could play 20 points, 22 points, PAREU, unrope, but Upo for 10, what he has lined up, keeping AENR a very, very solid option. What are you thinking, Morris?
Yeah, I think this is quite reasonable. They're all going to be pretty close, and it somewhat depends on the flavor of game you sort of want. Upo, you're also keeping the N, as Josh was saying. So a pawn and above or below the U are both available for the N. So that upweights the value of that a bit. And nice, he's playing it in the position that really leverages the N. The N is going to be very valuable in the double-double lane, but also there aren't that many tiles that create 2-letter words with a U in the N. It does it in both directions. So I think this is quite a sound choice.
Yeah, back to Mr. Richards with BELNORT. He's going to line up a play here of Knob, I think. That looks very strong. Oh, he's lining up Nobler. I was wondering if he was going to play short or long. He can play Nobler atop the UPO. That was the first thing that came to my mind. It looks a little dangerous to create such a nice spot on the triple, but RE, the only valid 2-letter word that would go there. So it's more defensive than it looks, and I don't know if Nigel wants to set up these S hooks that he doesn't have immediately, but I think it's still pretty strong. And that's what he does, just knob. He's assessed that the defense is worth it here. I like this play, just stacking. All right, back to Nigel Peltier. He has AEFNORS. Morris, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, again, very close to bingos here. I'd be looking for a bit through all 3 2-letter words, just thinking about if there are 9s, but these are all a bit uncommon of letters. So It looks like now he's going to be considering Frenna uh, off of the NU and OP, creating Nun and Opa. Seems very reasonable, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting few turns to see how this kind of little stack in the center unfolds.
Yeah, I wonder if you just play fop here for 8. You're so close to a bingo. An I gives you Eurasian, an E gives you Aranos. So many consonants will let you bingo with snob or knobs. You can even bingo underneath a lot of the time. This is defensive. OP takes an A hook, an E hook, a T hook, but after fop, only an S hook. I really just like dropping the F for 8 points here. He's looking at of, maybe with boo. That's also very strong, keeping AENRS. I don't like Freyna, even though it scores very well. Nigel's doing great on this board. He has an S. He has strong tiles. I think he is primed to bingo before Nigel Richards. So I think something like FOP or OF is stronger than Freyna.
Yeah, well, now he's considering Snarf making knobs and a pawn, which is also somewhat intriguing. But yeah, like it does feel like this is a slow game to start. It's okay, especially when you went first and you kind of have that initial tempo advantage to continue playing slow until you have the bingo. So yeah, of or fop, both seem nice. Snarf, yeah, I do like Snarf better than Frena.
Yeah, Snarf is defensive enough. You're getting rid of your S for less than 30. Usually not that advisable. But on this board, 30 is a lot. 29 points, I think, would be the score. 28 for
28,
Snarf.
yeah.
And it does not really open much. That ARF, not doing much to the board. So Nigel's going to go potentially long here. I think I would go short. What we do know is I'm pretty sure Nigel Richards is going to bingo no matter what, unless Snarf blocks everything. Is that possible?
It
Retablo is
might.
playing under here right now after fop. Actually, I don't know if anything plays after fop, but after of, critically, Retablo still fits with boot and fa. There's also bloater, which would be even better. So a very critical moment, actually, for Nigel Peltier. I wonder if he's going to spot the F drop. I really like that here.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these are reasonable. Snarf, fop, or of. Yeah, I guess yeah. The defensive merits of fop is underrated. I didn't initially appreciate how few tiles can go under the N and the U, and especially ones that you end a word with, like an R and a D are two of the most common tiles to end a word with, and so fop kind of kills 3 or 2-way underlaps in a way that is really advantageous. So there is a certain level of defensive merit even to playing fop when you have the S on hand and you're not pigeonholing yourself, but you might be pigeonholing your opponent.
Indeed, and Nigel Peltier taking a long time on this turn. He's under the 20-minute mark on turn 2, but there he goes, the one tile play. Love to see it. And I don't know if this is going to allow Nigel Richards to bingo in response. He has bloater, retablo, and yeah, no bingo here. So this is a brutal block, a one tile play just blocking what Nigel had set up. So what do you do now? Do you play boop? Do you just try to open something on the right side? Bobo also available.
Well, the really cool play through the BO is Babool, I think. That would allow for you to open both the top and the bottom a bit. So it gives you a bit more flexibility and doesn't allow Nigel P to kind of continue dictating the game in that sort of clear way. But it looks like Nigel P will open the board anyways a bit next turn, given that there's the NU spot to put his S and the knob spot to put his S. He will have a 7 at a minimum next turn, no matter what. But Babool looks kind of cool. Or maybe
Yeah,
Baboo.
Yeah, Babu or Babool. I think this makes sense. Is Nigel looking to just drop this B, though? What about that?
Oh.
This is crazy. Will we see a one tile play for both players? No, I think He's looking at Boob now. Babu looks great, though. The only problem with that is it just gives so many racks a lot of help. So just overlapping that BA for Nigel Peltier is going to be very nice and high scoring, pretty much no matter what rack he has. What we do know is Nigel Peltier has Aranis on his rack. It plays in 3 different spots on the board. Nigel Richards not going to block that, no matter what he does. I'm loving this game so far. So tactical, so tight, so strategic. This is the sort of game you like too, right, Morris? Would you play Babool? What are you thinking?
So, to be clear, what I would do is a lot different than if I were Nigel Richards and I had the capabilities he had. I think I would continue being pretty similar. Whoa, Book, that's crazy. Which this actually makes a lot of sense. ABLE as a leave is super strong. Adding a T and an R to it's even stronger, right? With E, you have things like retable. With an A, you have rateable. With an I, you have triable or liberate. And an O again would be bloater. So this is very strong for bingo chances in general. This will make Nigel P's decision really interesting, though. Wow, what a fascinating move. So he's going to play Aranis there. I guess Nigel's logic was, if you take the spot, you'll still get a bingo so often. So, wow, what a cool idea.
Wow, this game has been so epic, so quickly. Just a 3-tile play, 3-tile overlap, 1-tile fish, 1-tile fish. I like this Aranis play. Does not give back a double, which would have happened if you play with booze. So I like this idea. You are floating that S out there, though. That's the one problem. But I do prefer this over hooking knobs, for example. I mean, that would just be so dangerous. So I think we're going to see ratables. There are a couple anagrams, but this doubles the B, puts the L in the triple lane. That's really not a big deal. So yeah, a great decision just to play Boo. You hit with so many letters if you're Nigel Richards, and you pretty much know that Nigel is not going to have a high scoring response to that. Nigel Peltier, that is. But high scoring response we have in this case, that one issue with ratables is this scoring spot, and Peltier has drawn the X.
Yeah, one interesting thing is that I think Nigel Richards spent more time than usual on the Boo turn. He normally takes roughly 50 seconds ish per turn. That turn, I think he took around 2 minutes. So he was really permuting every possible option of, okay, if I played off this 1 tile, if I play off this 2 tiles. So, and I think it's really instructive that he landed on this play that allowed him to bingo right after. So, really interesting turn.
And a terrible draw from Nigel Richards, that QVW combination, compared to Nigel Peltier's post-bingo draw. Terrible swing. Peltier looking at docks. I guess the one issue with docks is you're opening these triples, especially what if Nigel has drawn the Z? Could get 100 points with ads. So it can't be super comfortable to play this, but Peltier with no fear. That's why he's at the top of the standings. He's just doing what he can to help himself out. Docks being played, 57 points. Nigel Peltier taking a 42-point lead here. Nigel Richards to respond with PIVMOWQ. Where to start here? Just play Bow? You don't even have an A. I think you could do, though.
You could do Kadi, and off the A and the D, and that they both seem reasonable. Vow is slightly risky given that you don't have the A, but it looks like Nigel shifted to picking up the Q and the I. Yeah, he's going to play Kadi. I think this makes sense.
This makes sense. It blocks the triple a lot better than Vow. Vow would actually make it easier on Nigel Peltier if he just has an E or an A to hit this top right triple. Getting rid of the Q is always a good idea. Plow is available next turn, potentially, if it doesn't get blocked. I think this makes a lot of sense. Just instructive stuff from Nigel Richards. You have the Q, you can score 30 points, get rid of it. But Nigel Peltier has found a bingo.
Yeah, a chiral and rachial are both words. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing those correctly. Apologies. And it looks like he's reshuffled, but he's already set up one of them. I guess there aren't really floaters available on this board, but maybe he's just a bit conscious of, I'm opening a lot of things in space with these plays. So he's going to a chiral. They both pose a lot of threats. Slotting the A in either first or second position gives a huge hotspot, but this is kind of what you have to do here.
Yeah, the anagram, though, rachial, potentially a little bit harder to score well with. This might be a small blunder. Actually, I don't know. Putting the A here would be pretty dangerous as well. It's very, very close between the two 7-letter words here. I think the reason just Nigel Peltier taking a little bit of time there is just like, probably he's never played this word before. These like lower probability words, we've all studied them, we've seen them, but have we ever played them? So the first time you play a word, it's a little bit daunting. I've definitely played a chiral, but yeah, maybe that was what was giving Peltier a pause here, but a great, great lead now, 88 points over the greatest of all time, who is considering vomit through the eye. Oh no, vomit.
No.
That's
Yeah.
a lot better. Oops.
Yeah, not just in terms of points, but vomit there isn't conducive with Nigel's style. Flowing the V out in that portion of the board where he was initially going to set it up really kills a lot of bingo chances. So this looks really good. No complaints here. Obviously, it's Nigel Richards.
Yeah, and he still has chances to draw Plu or Plow through that L. Oops. Of ratables. He hasn't seen a vowel. He's drawn a Y, so he's going to have some trouble once again next move. But these tiles that Nigel Richards are not so bad. They look bad, but they're not. Nigel Peltier, though, these tiles look better than Nigel Richards's, but they're not. It's going to be hard to find a good move here. Amautis, very hard to find. Amautis through the A. That seems like pretty much the only reasonable play that eliminates that big triple. But we might see something like alum. You don't want to do that. You're keeping 2 eyes with 5 more unseen. What would you do here if you don't see a Mouties? I think a Mouties is the clear best play.
Yeah, Mouties looks really good. And Amusia is good, right?
Yeah. I guess the problem
that's definitely worse, but
it's this big spot here. But
right,
yeah,
it's definitely worse, but if you don't see a Mouties,
well,
I guess Amusia isn't much easier to see either.
I guess
but
we're not going to find out what Nigel would do if he
Yes.
doesn't see it, because he's already spotted it. Beautiful find. It's such a weird, like, I don't know, it just feels so weird to find a play like that. It just looks so, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'd see this because it just looks so bizarre.
yeah, it definitely is a weird one. Like, I think a lot of those words you see it immediately when you have all 7 letters on your rack because you've studied that bingo, but placing it out in space is a different task, and you're not as used to it because you're not normally going to keep multiple eyes, a U, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, generating that in space is a different task.
Nigel Richards has WRYNG lined up, so Nigel Peltier noticing he almost has tiramisu through that R of a chiral. But yeah, Amouti's coming down. There are still 2 blanks to draw, playing 6 tiles, trying to draw one. Of course, it's a little dangerous to float that S out there. You have a lead, but take care of that triple, score well, leave 1 tile. Hopefully you draw something good. There's a lot of goodies left for Nigel Peltier to draw. I think Nigel Richards is just going to play Rying pretty quickly.
Yep, that makes sense. So Nigel Richards wastes no time. And but Nigel Peltier will still be in pretty good position here, even though there are now a few more lines created. He does have a nice lead, and we'll see what his last few tiles are here.
All right, Addein. Pretty decent draw, but nothing fantastic. First play coming to mind, suggested by the engine, Acneed. I should really wait until they flip that board over. Acneed through that C, very high level of difficulty. Once again, it blocks that S, keeps 2 eyes, but scores 36 points. I'm not sure. Something like lid for 12 seems a little bit low scoring. In response.
Yeah, I mean, Acneed scores so much, it is pretty hard to see. And you're naturally, I think, if you're not a Nigel type player, Nigel Richards type player, sorry, you gravitate towards getting rid of the duplicates here, like Nigel Peltier has set up on his rack. So id seems very standard in a lot of ways for a lot of positions. But yeah, if you see the big point play, you take it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. You just are not satisfied with such a short, low scoring move at this score line. You want to keep the scoring pressure going. You don't want to keep marginal leaves such as ADEIN that can lead to a bingo a lot of the time. And if it doesn't lead to a bingo, then what? You're back to trying to find Acneed. Nigel Richards has drawn the first blank, and he is primed to bingo next turn. Nigel Peltier does not know this, but we'll see if he finds this awesome play of Acneed. Addein, that is an alphabetization. I was wondering earlier if that's how Nigel Peltier learns words. He's a little bit of a mystic fellow himself, or mysterious, I should say. Mystic, not the correct adjective there. We don't know too much about his Scrabble studying habits. And it instead in this spot for 14, that makes a lot of sense. Blocking that S with the lead, keeping ADEIN. Very likely Nigel Peltier will draw a bingo next to that A and a Mounties next turn, or even one underneath the L of a chiral. Let's see what he gets. EY. Okay, not happening. Nigel Richards to respond with Guppies. I wonder why it's lined up that way rather than the second P being the natural one. Because I feel like I would play GU. There we go. Okay. Because you could play it with Snob, but that feels a lot worse, right, Morris?
Well, which one feels a lot worse?
Playing with Snob.
Than playing with
AS.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. I mean, the other one did score a few more points, I guess, but yeah, this is a lot easier of a line for Nigel Peltier to hit. So I think you take that point sacrifice and then just play it safer.
Yeah, there are a couple of 7-letter words available with Snob as well that scored reasonably, but they just open a big triple. You don't need to do this at the scoreline. You're tying the game up. It's better to leave things a little bit more controlled. That GU here up here is not that big of a deal. The X is gone. The M's are gone. You can't really overlap and score too much. So back to Nigel Peltier, who is thinking about YEAN just to score pretty well here.
Yeah, it was unclear to me if he had a spot for Yiend he was looking at, given that he has the ED next to it. But yeah, YEAN seems reasonable. I guess otherwise, maybe something like Lie. But again, that gets back to this kind of high variance position where you're keeping these nice synergistic tiles of ADEIN, but if you don't hit the bingo, it kind of continues to be a very minimal position in terms of scoring opportunities. So I think it makes most sense to just kind of take your points now, be slightly worse for a bingo leave, but DI is still very good in that sense.
Yeah, not too many eyes to redraw. A lot of ease, though. I think, yeah, you can't be super comfortable here if you're Nigel Peltier. but you are on turn, so you have a slight advantage there. You are under 10 minutes, though, of course. No surprises there. Nigel Richards not taking too long in his decision-making process. We've seen an awesome game so far. Nigel Richards drawing the second blank, so maybe from his perspective, he's the one with the advantage.
Yeah, and so the one thing that this does is that now with the Y in the first position on the top row and the V in the last position, you are very unlikely to get bingos. Although you could shout out your favorite bingo like Yakatori or Tolershev or something in the chat that would fit there. So it looks like bingos are going to kind of more naturally unfold in the bottom portion of the board or next to the W.
Nigel Richards quickly playing his highest equity play, just dropping 2 of those E's, making I, EH, and ER in the center of the board, keeping EIOT blank. Very potent leave, but he's seen another E and a W, and I don't know that that gives him anything. Back to Nigel Peltier, DEHINSV, a very good draw for him, drawing one of those, drawing that final S actually. So I wonder if he's going to play the new word shivved, making ALS. He has a 15-point lead, and so 37 points, increasing that lead to 52, blocking a nice spot for a bingo. Seems pretty strong to me, Morris.
Yeah, Vlei also stands out to me. VLEI off the L. That either is good, but I do like sort of the controlledness of shivved. Although, how controlled is the game truly when you're playing Nigel Richards?
That is a good question. Of course, the line here still existing. You can end in E. That play of I definitely signaling strength in Nigel Richards' leave. If you have the last blank, you can still play with Snob. If you have the K, I guess, you can end the bingo in K. So there are still lines to work with for sure on this board, but I think the most potent one right now, this one, I wonder. We're looking at Hive maybe and WE. It also makes sense to assume Nigel Richards a little bit heavy on those vowels after his last 2-vowel play. There are lots of options here to consider. Not a lot of time to consider them for Nigel Peltier. Curious to see what he decides. He's looking at Hove as well. That takes an L hook and an R hook. He has neither. He's probably not going to like that too much, but it's a strong leave as well.
Yeah, it's always difficult in these positions, and I think what often I think new players are gravitate towards when a Nigel Richards makes a huge crazy bingo, but a lot of these top players will be able to see the same bingos. These sorts of nuanced decisions are what really separates the cream of the crop from the very, very good. So
yeah, so I wonder what Nigel's thinking. I'm sure he's thinking, I have this last S for Snob. I don't think this is really often getting blocked. So he wants to try and eventually get a bingo down there. He's not feeling super safe with 15 points of a lead here, especially given the previous play of Nigel Richards. So I think maybe a counterpunch, something just keeping the S in reserve for the next couple moves does make a lot of sense in hindsight. Even though I'd already decided that I like the play of shivved. Maybe you keep the S here.
yeah, I guess, I mean, this might be too slow to develop, but if you do keep the S, is it ever worth it keeping the H in some way? Just because if you look, for instance, right now, what if he plays Hen off of Ag and NU and to set up Shen? That probably isn't worth it because VIDS isn't that great a leave, but you could imagine doing something like that on a future turn. But again, that requires a few turns to develop, so I don't think that that's quite right. This seems quite reasonable, though. The V really kills opportunities to reopen easily for bingos in that portion of the board, so that S lane looks really good unless Nigel just makes a high-scoring play parallelly to Hive.
Yeah, Nigel was ready. Richards was ready to play Owie, I think, in that same spot. Now he's going to think about maybe for a second Do you play owie here? But no. Zowie, Towie, Dowie available to hook. I don't think he's going to take that risk. It would be totally insane to me if he plays that. He's looking at TEW. Where does that even go?
I am not seeing it right away. Yeah, where is TEW playing? Is he considering just TE somewhere?
Yeah, maybe. Usually it's very easy to tell what Nigel Richards is thinking about because he just lines it up on his rack. Sometimes he just finds something that we can't find. I wonder. Maybe he's trolling. There's always a chance, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he had more time, I would be a fan of trolling. But since he only has 50, no, I'm just joking. But yeah, now he's rearranging to Toei.
Yeah, Toei here makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah, and you can't play OE there, given the Z out and other stuff too, like the Ds. So Toei seems quite reasonable. I guess in this bag, there are a lot fewer vowels than consonants, and Nigel is usually pretty astute on those measures, but you're keeping a vowel in reserve, and a blank can be a vowel or a consonant, so I think this seems quite reasonable. Scores to kind of get yourself back in range. And Nigel Peltier is on turn with not the draw he necessarily hoped for, but some good scoring letters, at least in the interim.
Yeah, Knells would be nice to play somewhere that scores something, but the only spot I'm seeing here is with Snob. Will he see the K hook on Knob? I feel like something like Lek there is pretty good. Not really sure what else there is though here. It's kind of a really awful draw, I'd say. Like no vowel. Well, okay, he drew one vowel. I think that was one of the issues with Hive with the consonant heavy pool is that yeah, he was unlikely to draw too many vowels. He's thinking of Lek, I think. And Nigel has drawn that all-powerful Z to go with his blank. It would be amazing to see Nigel Peltier take down the GOAT with 0 blanks. But after seeing this draw from Nigel Richards, I'm a little bit worried he uses the Z so well. I feel like he uses it better than anyone else. He knows what to do with it. He knows how to set it up. He knows how to score with it. He finds every word with it. Nigel Peltier lower on the clock by 10 minutes. He's under 5 minutes, 13 tiles still in the bag. He's got to make a decision relatively soon. Hopefully panic doesn't set in because he's in a decent position.
Yeah, so Lecker, where's he going with this? He's going to play Koal. Interesting. This is more contained on to block kind of the easier bingo lines, and Nigel Peltier is holding the last S for that snob lane. Now, after Toei, Nigel could block that area a bit, but this is interesting.
Yeah, I like this decision a lot. It protects yourself from big plays underneath. It continues to threaten snob plays just for a small point sacrifice. You set up your S underneath it too. I love the nuance from Nigel Peltier. Back to Richards, AEEF blank. I actually don't know what he's going to do at all. He was going to play Fuse. That would have been fantastic for him, but that was just blocked.
Well, he could still play. He could keep the Z, right? He could play Flee, either FLEA or FLEE through the L in rateables, or Flat for that matter. It looks like he has set up now. And I think Flat is keeping in mind that there are many fewer vowels than consonants left in the game. So it looks like he's geared up to play that.
Yeah, Flat. What's really cool about that is if Nigel Richards ever draws a bingo starting in T, it will 100% play on this board, on this part of the board, this part of the board. So it's this nice mirroring effect sometimes that you see at the highest levels of play, where if you're behind, you're just creating opportunities where you have unblockable bingos. near the end of the game. And that's a good draw for Nigel Richards. Nigel Peltier under 4 minutes now with, again, one lone vowel. So he's falling a little bit behind, although he's still up by 6 points.
Yeah, and I think he's up 6 points. And I think if you're starting to look at the bag, I guess the vowel constant imbalance isn't as bad from his perspective as it was from Nigel's perspective. So maybe but yeah, he's going right now for Dong, it looks like, for only 10 points. But I think that it's quite merited. STAL goes very well with the E's in the bag, the I's in the bag, DNR blank C. So I think that would be a very nice play. The risk with playing your vowel here is that if you don't draw a constant, not only you're not bingoing, but you're just probably dead in the water.
Yeah, now instead Gland. I feel like Gland is a better play than Dong. It scores more. It maintains your best S lane, and it leaves only 3 tiles in the bag as opposed to 4 with Dong. So, yeah, Dong or Gland, an interesting choice from Nigel's perspective. But I wonder what else you could do. He's thinking about slang now. He's got 2 minutes. Slang leaving 2 in the bag is ideal, but he might fall victim to some outscoring techniques coming his way, especially with no time on the clock. But he's going to go for slang. I think this is practical for him. It scores as best as he can. It leaves 2 in the bag, goes for that blank, goes for those scoring tiles unseen to him. He's got to play fast.
Yeah, so slang is the play. That gives him, I think, a 27-point lead. So not the strongest lead, but you'll take anything you can get against Nigel Richards going into a pre-end game. But yeah, this feels like a position that Nigel will find something close to an 100% win, given how good his tiles are.
Close to 100%, I would not say. From Nigel Richards' perspective, CDEIIJNRT is available. I do think Nigel Richards has the advantage in this situation, but I don't know what he's going to do. Unfortunately for Nigel Peltier, if you're playing somebody with 13 minutes on their clock in this position, they're likely going to take a large amount of the time they have left to make a decision. I don't think that'll be the case. For Nigel Richards, he's looking at Doozer, right? Through the O of Towie. That's going to score 36 points, bring him into the lead by 9. And with a lot of draws, that will win the game. But with some, it won't, I think. Maybe you're right, though. This does look really strong, just Doozer.
Yeah, I'm like trying to see. So, like, what sevens does Nigel Peltier have from Richards' perspective?
Doesn't matter. They don't play, right?
Well, I mean,
play.
after Doozer, right? Like, slang, like shedding the S really loses a lot of potency of the pool, and so to me, it feels like Nigel Richards will be able to eliminate most threats, I think, and still retain the blank. So I think this play is just pretty dominant given what is left in the pool.
Yeah, it loses with precisely one draw, and that is a JD. Neritic would now fit on top.
Nice.
But I think it might win with every other draw, especially this one. Nigel Peltier is not in time to score enough points. I wonder if slang was a mistake. It felt so strong, but he missed those vowels he desperately needed. And yeah, they're fixing the scores, but no matter how much time you give Nigel Peltier in this endgame, he's not going to win. Nigel Richards is going to threaten, I think, outplays here. Maybe not.
Yeah, it is
Edgy
tough
at least. Does he have an outplay? Oh yeah, he has Eide, EIDE, and Veggie. So Nigel Richards definitely going out next turn. Nigel Peltier has a J and 5 consonants. This is over. Crazy game. Amazing game, actually.
Yeah, really well fought, but these sorts of positions, I mean, it's the reason why Nigel Richards is the best player in the world. He kind of navigated the last few turns so precisely to get himself an advantage. Now, it helps that he drew both blanks, let's be clear, but he kind of took the most of the opportunities to kind of get a clean position here at the end.
It's just so crazy to me how quickly Nigel Richards played Doozer knowing there was, what, a 1 in 36 chance that he was going to lose. Is that the correct math? I'm not a math guy, Morris.
Yeah, there were how many tiles unseen at that point? There were 2 in the bag?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, 1 in 36. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh no, wait, 1 in 72, right? Yeah, 1 in 70. Or no, you were right. 1 in 36. Sorry.
Sorry, I just noticed Nigel Peltier made the play of Jin with -1 second, just 1 second too slow. He's going to get that -10 off of his score. This will bring him to 382, but 372 will be the final after, I think, EIDE.
I think he might not go out right away. I think he's going to split this up.
Oh no. He is, isn't he?
Right.
What is he thinking? Z first for 12? Yeah, we've seen this. Will Anderson made a tough decision in his end game against Nigel where he left himself with pretty unworkable tiles. And yeah, this is okay. I blank Pito. Okay. Pito for 19. So quick. So quick by Nigel Richards. He's saying, well, if you want, you can play CERT through that E, but I'm going to go out with C for 21. So you shouldn't do that. This is just brutal. He does this to everyone. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I guess if Nigel Peltier plays something else that doesn't give Nigel Richards C, he'd have either G off of the G in slang or Z off of the Z inducer. I realize that's a weird sentence to say aloud. GEE or ZEE as his 2 words.
Yeah. So he's already got 14 and 12 on offer. So if you play, I guess, tech or rec through this E, you're giving Nigel 1 more point. It's probably fine to do that. But yeah, such a brutal situation. It was an amazing game from both guys. I really don't feel like Nigel Peltier did anything particularly wrong this game. Same could be said about the GOAT, but it was an overall fantastic and fascinating opening position. You saw some great ideas from both of these 5-head minds. Okay, I'm not going to say 5-head anymore, but I tried. Nigel Richards to go out. He has 10 minutes on his clock. He's hesitating for some reason. Turns the board. He's going to play G for 14.
What if he passes, gets Nigel Peltier? No. I was going to say 2 seconds, but yeah.
There was a situation like that. You're not allowed to do that, but yeah, G for 14. Final scores after all is said and done, 408 to 390. Let's listen to the overhead mic if they have anything to say for themselves, these 2 shaded guys.
Yeah. 88. Oh, 408. 390. I don't have either of those numbers. Hit 360, right? Oh, I it's my jumbled score sheet. Sorry. You had 388. Yeah. 15. 360. I messed something up. I'm sorry. Let's see. You had 369. Yeah. And then it was 19. 388. Sorry. 402. So 408 is your total. And then I had 390 with the penalty. 380. Thank you, Nigel. Well done. Well played. Played so many. Yeah. Hopefully this tournament, but if not, then another time.
Okay. So what do I do here? Nigel makes second, Nigel makes third.
Okay.
The shades have come off. The gloves have come off. I don't know if Nigel Peltier is going to be able to make the finals after this all-important game against his name doppelganger, his namesake. That's the word I was looking for. Morris, what a great game.
Yeah, and really instructive in a lot of ways. I think like the only mistake you could even consider there is if slang was a bit too premature, just because the S had a lot more potency than everything else in the bag. Now, Nigel Peltier might have not fully realized that, given that the Z and the blank were unseen. So this could just be a bias in what we actually saw unfold. But really instructive, really sharp position of play.